All right, how's it going, everybody? This is Aaron the Pedantic, and I am very, very happy to be showing this to everybody. This is the Tomb of the Black Sand. I actually picked this up at North Texas RPG Con last year. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be going to the convention again, but you're probably not, you're not here for that. You're here to see what this is about. So, what is Tomb of the Black Sand? Tomb of the Black Sand is a dungeon crawl written by Jacob Hurst, the same guy who did the Dark of Hot Springs Island, and it is for 5th edition. However, it can very easily be converted to your favorite OSR play systems. If I had to give this thing any knocks, it would be that it's written for 5th edition. But at the same time, because it's so easy to convert, I'm actually still going to be able to get quite a bit of use out of it because I am running one 5th edition game. And I plan on taking them through this place after reading it. It is so cool. Okay, first off, cover's awesome. The quality of the book, just the appearance and everything, I'm loving it. As far as the construction goes, everything is great except one thing. That's just that some of the pages are like really, I don't know, tight, if that makes sense. I don't know what terminologies, but so one of the first things it does that I really appreciate is that the map is accessible very easily by just opening the book on either side. Well, almost. We do have a Kickstarter backer page, but if you're closer to the other end, then there you go. Well, actually, that's kind of what I was talking about. It's something about how it's constructed together. It's a little bit weird with some of the pages, but that's one of the biggest knocks I can give to how it's put together. Other than that, it's pretty dang phenomenal, at least the one that I have. Okay, so as you can see, you have a very well-keyed dungeon. The map looks pretty good. You can tell just about, what everything is roughly, but the room descriptions are incredible, I have to say. Like, they are seriously well described. You do have all these bold typefaces whenever there's all these things that you should be able to scan and pick up very quickly whenever you're referencing during play, which is useful. I've heard that some people that have like ADHD and stuff like that can have issues with. I don't know how true that is though. And it was in reference to letters. I don't know if it would do the same thing with words. In any case, we have some hooks that are offered, and they are quite good, and they fit. I mean, kind of obvious, but they are. Haha! I got a signature. Ah. All right. Artwork is phenomenal. The artist for this, let's see. I think his name was Gabriel. Let me see. Gabriel Hernandez. I also met him at the convention. He was a really nice guy. Oh yeah, editing by Fiona Geist and layout by Jacob Hurst. Dude has many skills. Anyway, so one of the things that this tells you is that this is an adventure. Well, it's a very sandboxy module. Old school sensibilities, 3 to 6 level 4 characters is what it's designed for. Still have probably a lot of deaths because there is something in here that will kill anybody who is not incredibly powerful. This is incredibly. This is how you do a dungeon that is going to still be lethal even in 5th edition. I mean, I'm not saying that it's some surmountable feat otherwise, but this one is pretty dang well done, at least the way that I'm reading it. I haven't played it yet. I haven't run it yet. So this is my impressions. But what it basically tells you is that the intention is not for the players to actually go through and kill the big bad guy that's in here. Instead, he becomes just a fixture that's in the campaign world, wherever you're just something you plug in, and it's something that you can use. It's incredibly flavorful. This whole thing is incredibly flavorful. So you have a few different suggestions for how to do this. You can do a cold start, and there are suggestions for how to make that work. Just different things that you put into the module to make it more workable for like one shots and things like that. The plugs and sockets here. So this is just saying, what do you need in the area wherever your campaign world is at for this to work? And I really do appreciate this because, a lot of times you have to read the modules and then try and, figure that out for yourself. This just tells you, hey, don't forget to put these things around so that you can make this place make sense. And that's one of the things I really like about this is a lot of things really make sense in this place. It's very self-contained, and yeah, it's really cool. I know I'm gloating about this thing, not gloating, being incredibly generous, I guess, but it really is very cool. Okay, so here we have the village of Brighton, and we have, just a little hex map. The hex map is sufficient, I suppose. Let's see, we don't have a... Okay, we have a hex map that doesn't have, like, distances, which is fine. We can make that work. At least if it does have them, I don't see them anywhere. Pet peeve, perhaps. So you do have a population, which is always a good thing to have referenced. You have some names that you can roll up if you need to. I think that's a really cool idea. Now, the NPCs in this are very well presented. You get some good suggestions for how to handle the characters and make them interesting, but it doesn't go overboard. I mean, as you can see, Niles here, he gets a paragraph. Dario gets a paragraph, and these are the really important figures. You get locations with a little bit of information, and they're all interesting. The people that go to the end, they're going to be barraged by red squirrels that are trained to throw things at new people. You have a church, so you have a religion that you can set in. You really should, because otherwise you're going to have to try and insert, one of your own. This is kind of pivotal to the adventure. You have this curate, and I love the attention to detail. I mean, I guess in a way it's attention to detail. So he is practically deaf, as you can see. And that's going to be very important whenever you look at some of the other things that are in the adventure, because what is going on in this place, spoilers, spoilers should be obvious by this point, but what is going on in this place is that there are these candles that are being passed around town that contain a magical effect that whenever they are lit, it plays a song, and the song will lead people to hate themselves and eventually want to commit themselves to sacrificing themselves to this lich in order to help this lich gain deification. It's very cool. And so the curate here, because he's practically deaf, is kind of immune to its call. And he has no idea why people are leaving. Why are they all going away? It's so strange. We have some other interesting locations they can go to. This Mama Cole character is pretty cool. I'm glad that she's in here, because then we have some mentionings here about how some of the other villagers might be blaming her for the disappearances of a lot of people, just because of the fact that she's none of her kids have gone missing. Again, you can scan bold text pretty easily. It's pretty cool. Okay, so a love story. So you have these three amigos here, and they are the brothers of a banshee. And she wasn't always a banshee. She willingly became a banshee in order to protect the one who is the lich, who is someone that she loved. And they want to protect the banshee. They want to rescue her, but they can't, because they have been cursed with lycanthropy. And even worse, they've been cursed to be stuck in a 24-hour cycle, Groundhog Day, over and over and over again. They're always trying to find their sister. And whenever they inevitably come to this place, they will find her and they will see this pool in the middle of the room, which has moonlight, and they will turn into very, very vicious werewolves. So it's there are so many things like that that are in this where you can encounter NPCs. They have really interesting things going on with them, and there are all these triggers that are laid out. You really have to pay attention. Pay attention to the details here. There is a lot of really cool stuff to work with. Um, okay, so you have your rooms numbered and pages, which is cool. So, if you're like, okay, they went to this one, you can reference what page number that would be. I mean, it's not a very big book, so it wouldn't take very long anyway, but it's a nice touch. I appreciate it. Sights and sounds, it doesn't tell you exactly what to do with it, but it's quite obviously a random encounter table. And so I plan to use this as every 2 turns, maybe every 3 turns, just depending. Then when I say turns for those in the 5e crowd, that would be 10 minutes, not every 6 seconds. Every turn, I would give a roll on here, and you're always going to get a result. It might be spooky voices, it might be some kind of baddie or something like that. But more often than not, it's spooky voices. It's about a 30% chance that you're actually going to end up fighting something. And what you're going to end up finding, it's broken up into chunks of 3 percentiles. So there is a ritual going on in this place. And the ritual has a very specific process. There are a lot of moving parts. And if you can learn it, I'm telling you, there's a lot for the players to learn about this place. And I think that's going to be one of the things that they're really going to appreciate. That's one of the things I'm really excited about. Whenever there's a lot to explain here. Okay, so a lot to say. So he needs 77 willing sacrifices in order to unlock the last spell. So that's what your end goal for the baddie is. He needs all of these sacrifices, and though it says willing, he can take shortcuts here, and that can include the candles that are enchanted with Minerva's song. Minerva being the banshee, which there's a whole little ecosystem here as to how that functions. We have these candles. These candles are made by the candle maker, which makes the candles out of corpse fat. Do you want to guess where the corpses come from? They come from the town. All these people that are going missing. And we have candles that have different things that they do. You have red candles that will suggest that victims travel to Brighton, bring a memento of their deepest personal shame. You have white candles that will bring them to the pool in the tomb and have them drink. And then the black candles keep away the sand, because the sand is bad business. The black sand, by the way. So, Saint Anya is the deity that I was talking about. Is kind of a local deity, and she is looking out for people, sort of. She's kind of one of those deities. It's kind of a grim deity in some ways, because she will punish the wicked and the weak. So it's interesting. Getting stuck. All right. So those that actively decide to participate in that participate actively in the ritual. Let me rephrase that. Cannot leave the tomb unless they have their memento. And so what that means is once people mess with certain things in here, then they cannot leave. And what will happen is, like, this place will the door will disappear. There will be no way out. Another thing that's kind of cool is whenever they come in, it has this effect where everything becomes longer. Like these 5-foot squares become 10-foot squares. There's some vicious traps in this place. There's so much in here that's like stuck together. This is clearly well thought out. And let me give a little explanation to that. All right, so first off, you have this black sand that's all over the place. It's not like literally everywhere, but it's in a lot of places. If a skull touches the black sand, then a creature will be animated out of it. So the black sand, you'll later learn, are the charred bones of the ritual victims. And so putting these skulls onto these grains of sand will cause these creatures to come out. So that's one of the things that can happen. And there are some enemies that will throw skulls onto sand in order to create more enemies. And they can do several of those in a round, which is awesome. It is very, very cool. Okay, so you see there are all these rooms, and there's all kinds of opportunities for treasure here. Another thing I have to really give it credit for is that this place is littered with gold. And, well, not just gold, but all kinds of different treasure, and a lot of really interesting types of treasure and magic items. There's a lot of stuff here. So whenever they go down here, then there is a bunch of sand right here that covers up some broken spears. And then this side is fine. So they can clear out the sand, and perhaps they'll see the little spears and they'll think, uh-oh, there's something wrong here. Maybe we should be careful. So they could go down that side. Actually, yeah, they should be able to go down that side. No. No, what they need to do is realize that there's a trap, is what they need to do. They need to realize that there's a trap at that point, because there are spears that will jut out of the wall and pierce anybody who is more than 5 feet tall. So you halflings, you dwarves, you're probably fine. You gnomes, but those that step on the uncovered part, specifically the part that does not have sand on it, which is on the right side, will trigger. Actually, no, you step on a middle stair. It's just that the spears will only go as far. Yeah, they'll only affect the people that are on the part that has no sand. Which, yeah, okay. I'm sorry, that was complicated. I made that more complicated than it needed to be. It's going to be one take. I'm sorry, I don't really have a lot of time. Okay, so what happens though is they take damage and then they become bloodied. Well, what's interesting about that, or they start bleeding. What's interesting about that is that whenever they get in here, actually it says whenever it's convenient. Now, I typically don't like those things, as I'm more of a simulationist, so I might want to have them on a random encounter check or a certain time of day would probably be best, considering the way that this functions, considering this is supposed to be a Groundhog Day type scenario for them. The brothers will come in, and they will come in here eventually, and they will look into the pool, and like I said, they'll turn into werewolves, and they will be instantly attracted to anybody who smells like blood. And if anybody has been bleeding, they can track them without fail. So they can hunt down people that are bleeding. It's just nice to have these things kind of flow into each other like that. So the pool, when people drink from it, they have to make a save, or else they will become victims of the sacrifice. They will willingly go through the process. In here, you have the Shrine of Saint Anya. And Saint Anya has different methods to try and help people. It's interesting. So you can go in there, and this place can snap you out of different things. Specifically, it can make this place shrink back down, which is pretty cool. And I want to say that it can. Oh yeah. If you've been unless you've been a bad person, then she can show you all of the good things that you've done in your life to help you break this spell, because it's essentially a suggestion spell, and you just have to go through with the effects, right? So she can help you break the suggestion spell. If that fails, then you go through this whole process where you are going to have stuff happen to you. It's actually a whole thing. Let me get to that. Okay. So we have all the sights and sounds. All right. So we have the sacrifice flow. So we have this is your timeline for how everything works. So they drink from the pool. They find, and this, another thing that's really cool is you can actually learn what this flow is before ever seeing it happen because it is printed on the doors. I'm telling you, there's so much attention to detail in this thing. So people strip, except for their item of shame. They take that with them. They wait in the chapel for a week, seeing if they are going to be worthy or not. If they are not worthy, a candle maker collects their items. They're baptized in the moon pool. They're shrouded and placed in a niche, which are in these places around here, I reckon. Yeah. And they are left to give up on their life. Their body becomes ethereal and runes appear. Each sacrifice's item of shame is collected and displayed in the trophy suite. The victim must have it to escape. And there you go. As for this nasty, nasty room right here, this is where you have skeletons that toil. Actually, the skeletons are in here. So you have burning skeletons. Okay, you do have skeletons in here, peeling flesh off of bone, and the all of that stuff is being used to make the candles. The bones go in here, and they're burnt in the furnace, which makes the sand. And yeah, then you have the place where the lich chills is right here. This is a room. This is a cool room. This room has a very elaborate trap that I really appreciate. So if they go in here, they will notice that there is a little recess. Not a recess. It's a gap. It's a gap 6 by 6 by 6 inches by 6 inches by 10 feet. So it goes all the way across, and it's about 6 inches deep and 6 inches wide. And what will happen is if they go here, there's a web. And the web is not something that they can just burn away or anything like that. If they touch it, then they will get stuck, very likely. And a wall of force will close them into this chamber. And the chamber will be filled up with acid. And the acid will drain right here after it's done doing its job. A wall of force will make sure that the acid doesn't do that until the time is over. And there's really not a whole lot for them to do unless they can figure out how to get rid of the acid. And there is a trick. They have to destroy the eyes on which glow. So it's not terribly unnoticeable. If they look around, oh, what's going on? What do I do? You know, the acid comes out of these statues, and they'll notice that the eyes are glowing. So if they break all of the eyes, then it'll stop. There you go. They'll get out. Otherwise, they're going to be they're going to get a nice acid bath. There's just so much cool stuff in here. So this room right here is a room with a giant creature, a sand thresher. The sand thresher is vicious, and there's a whole methodology in here for how people can suffocate when being pulled into sand, because the sand thresher will do it, but not only will the sand thresher do it, the other sand creatures will pull you into sand as well. If you stand in sand long enough, there's always a chance that you will be pulled in, and then you'll start suffocating. And your suffocation doesn't just reset, and it's a pretty vicious mechanic that he's developed for how to handle it. I like it. So then you have a treasure room. The treasure is guarded by a very, very cool guardian, a cat named Domino. And the whole mechanics behind Domino are just really awesome. She's essentially a guardian of treasure hoards. And whenever she's done here, she will go off and guard another treasure hoard. It's weird, but it's also pretty cool. I mean, if you could convince, essentially, she'll leave you alone as long as you don't take her treasure. And there are a lot of things in here that will leave you alone as long as you don't mess with this thing or that thing. So some people could say it's kind of like Death Frost Doom and that you shouldn't mess with things, but that's not really true. There are ways to mess with things that will be fine. And, if you return things, a lot of times you'll be okay. It's one of the guiding principles for this in a lot of ways. But there's a ton of treasure to be found in this place, really cool things. And it's theoretically possible that the player characters could get in, get the treasure, and leave without having to deal with too terribly much. There is, as you can see, there is a secret entrance here where they can go from the entrance into here and then just go straight to the treasure room. And they'll have to fight a few things. I'm not pretending that they won't. I'm still not even highlighting all of the other cool things in here. We have a flesh golem it will put itself back together and it can rip people apart like it's nothing. I'm telling you, this place is lethal. It just bypasses HP. It's like, no, if you fail this, I'm ripping you in half. And then the next round, I am pulling your bones out of your body and using it to heal myself. And we have a lot of ghostly business. Minerva is a very, she's a banshee, but she's also very cool in a lot of ways. She's supposed to be very cryptic, and then you have Thomas, the guy who located the tomb for our lich, and he is also stuck in a whole cycle. And you can only see him whenever you look in a mirror that lets you see spirits. There's just so much cool stuff in this. It's kind of scattered, and I'm sorry, but this is just a really cool module. So I guess at this point, I'll let y'all have a look at the rest of the pages, so you can see, what it looks like. But I've really described just about everything. So there is a medallion that will help people get access to all the rooms. Normally, these rooms are open during this is open. See, these are always unlocked. This one is unlocked during I think it's a half moon, and then I think this one is these are unlocked during a full moon. So it might benefit them to come back at different times if they want to explore more. And again, they are not expected to solve the problem of the Lich whenever they first come here. Really, they're expected to learn some things, become curious. Maybe they can find some treasure. These parts are always unlocked, so there's definitely something to explore that's going to be really cool. If they put in enough work, they can get a lot of money out of this place, and not in the punishing way. And then there's always the chance that they may be clever enough to find a way to the treasure without having to go through all this stuff. So, okay. I love the art. Gabriel. Gabriel is the man. Okay, here we have one of our sand bulls. We have a lot of sand creatures here. It fits. So here we have Minerva. Because this is 5th edition, we have these very long stat blocks. But as I said, it's not hard to convert to old school classic D&D. You just, lower the HP a little bit. Damage is probably going to have to be taken down a few notches. Those are our werewolves. It's always nice whenever you have so much creature art, because then you can always show and tell the players what exactly it is that they're dealing with. There's your flesh golem, and it is incredibly badass. It's very defeatable. And that's it doing what it does. That's when you fail your grappling checks with the thing. We have quite a bit of treasure. There is our Lich. Very cool things with the Lich. Actually, for a lot of these creatures, whenever you defeat them, unless you can manage to do certain things, they will come back. So you have an exposed heart on the Lich, but of course the Lich has a phylactery. And you may defeat the flesh golem, but the flesh golem will probably come back. All of these sand creatures, if you don't destroy the skulls, they're coming back. If you think you've gotten rid of Minerva? Well, you probably haven't. Oh, I guess that is one more thing. There is a bit of a prophecy that is shown to you whenever you are in the chapel. I believe it's in the chapel. It's in one of these places. You can see a prophecy, and it can tell you some very important things about what's going on here. The Thresher is absolute madness. I mean, it's really cool. It can very easily bury you in sand and suffocate you. But at the same time, I still feel that it's fair. So there's Domino right there, at least in kitty cat form. We have our sand creatures. I guess we don't have a picture of the sand warhorse, but that's okay. We can kind of figure that. We have the Thief's Blade, which is a potential magic weapon that can be acquired, but it is also pretty mean. And there we have it. This is the Tomb of Black Sand. I think it's really awesome. I'm really looking forward to running it. Hopefully the players take the hook, because I don't believe in just throwing it at them, but we'll see what happens.